14 German fighters, 1 American pilot, 600 rounds of ammunition. The maintenance crew at Degraded Air Base counted the damage after he landed. 127 holes punched through the wings, fuselage, and tail. The cockpit canopy shattered, hydraulic fluid pooling on the tarmac. The mission report sat in classified files for 53 years. This is what actually happened. March 3rd, 1945, 14:20 hours, 28,000 feet over Gotha, Germany. Second Lieutenant Robert Johnson climbs through scattered clouds in P-47 Thunderbolt serial number 4226641. His mission? Escort damaged B-17 bombers limping back to England after hitting synthetic oil refineries in central Germany. Below him, 14 Focke-Wulf FW-190s climb to intercept. The tactical math is brutal. 14 enemy fighters equipped with 20mm cannons and 13mm machine guns. 1 American pilot with 6 50-caliber machine guns and roughly 600 rounds per gun. The German aircraft are faster in level flight, more maneuverable in turns, and designed specifically to destroy heavy bombers. Johnson is alone. His wingman aborted 20 minutes earlier with engine trouble. The nearest American fighters are 40 miles northwest, escorting a different bomber stream. The Army Air Forces classified this engagement immediately after Johnson's debrief. The file bore a stamp, "Not for public release." It stayed that way until 1998. This declassified account provides insight into tactical decision-making under impossible odds and preserves an important chapter of World War II aviation history. Understanding these engagements reveals the operational reality faced by fighter pilots in the European theater. To understand how Robert Johnson survived the next 17 minutes, we need to go back to Lawton, Oklahoma. Population 18,055. The year 1920. Robert Samuel Johnson, born February 9, 1920, Lawton, Oklahoma. His father operates a filling station on Cache Road. The family lives in a 2-bedroom house behind the station. During the Depression, Johnson pumps gas after school, saves enough for flying lessons at the Lawton Municipal Airport, $15 for 30 minutes with an instructor. By 1938, he accumulates 22 hours. Not enough for a license, but enough to understand airspeed, altitude, and how lift works. He enlists in the Army Air Corps in September 1941, not for patriotic speeches or recruitment posters. The reason is practical. Pilot training means 3 meals daily and $50 monthly. His father's station barely breaks even. His training path began with primary flight training in Coleman, Texas from January to March 1942, flying the Stearman PT-17 biplane. Basic flight training followed at Randolph Field, Texas from April to June 1942 in the BT-13 Valiant. Advanced flight training took place at Foster Field, Texas from July to September 1942, flying the AT-6 Texan. Finally, fighter transition training in Sarasota, Florida from October to December 1942 in the P-40 Warhawk. He earns his wings December 12, 1942. Total flight hours, 214. The instructor's note in his file, technically proficient, calm under pressure, exceptional situational awareness. In January 1943, Johnson ships to England. He's assigned to the 61st Fighter Squadron, 56th Fighter Group, 8th Air Force, based at Horsham St. Faith, later Boxstead Air Base in Essex. The aircraft transition to the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt is significant. The instructors give him 12 hours in the aircraft before his first combat mission. The P-47 weighs 17,500 pounds, fully loaded, twice the weight of the P-40 he trained in. It carries 8.50 caliber machine guns, 3,400 rounds of ammunition, and a Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp engine, producing 2,000 horsepower. Johnson respects the Thunderbolt. It's heavy, difficult to turn, and climbs slower than German fighters, but it's durable. The air-cooled radial engine absorbs punishment. The armored cockpit protects the pilot, and at high altitude, above 25,000 feet, the turbo supercharger gives it speed the German fighters can't match. He flies his first combat mission February 13, 1943. By March 1945, he logs 287 combat hours, 89 missions, 3 confirmed aerial victories, no losses of bombers under his escort. The engagement on March 3, 1945 becomes his most documented and most classified. 1420 hours, 28,000 feet, cloud layer at 22,000 feet. Johnson's oxygen mask hisses with each breath. The temperature outside reads minus 42 degrees Fahrenheit. He scans the sky using the fighter pilot's method. Divide the canopy into sectors. Check each sector for 3 seconds. Move to the next. High to low, left to right. Never fixate. His radio crackles. Keyworth leader to all Keyworth flights. Bandits bearing 270. Angels 24. Climbing. West. 24,000 feet, climbing toward the bomber stream 8 miles ahead. Johnson banks left, pushes the throttle to maximum continuous power. The R-2800 engine roars. Manifold pressure 52 inches. RPM 2,700. Airspeed climbs through 340 miles per hour. He sees them at 7 miles. Contrails, multiple contrails climbing through 26,000 feet. He counts 6, 8, 12, 14 Focke-Wulf FW-190s. The angular wings and bubble canopy are unmistakable. The tactical situation is clear. The FW-190s are positioned perfectly for a bomber intercept. They're climbing in a loose formation, preparing to attack from above, the classic bounce. The B-17s are at 25,000 feet, flying straight and level. Maximum vulnerability. Johnson's options? Limited. He can't outmaneuver 14 fighters. He can't outrun them at this altitude. He can't call for backup. The nearest American fighters are too far away. But he can disrupt their attack. He keys his radio. Keyworth 3 to Keyworth leader. I have bandits in sight. Engaging. Negative Keyworth 3. You are alone. Break off. Johnson doesn't respond. He's already committed. At 1421 hours, the FW-190s level off at 27,000 feet. They haven't seen him yet. Johnson is 1,000 feet above them, diving from their 7 o'clock position, behind and to their left. The sun is at his back. He closes to 2 miles. 340 miles per hour becomes 380. The wings vibrate. The airframe groans. 1 mile. The FW-190s begin their attack run on the bombers. They roll left, nosing down. Half a mile. Johnson arms his guns. 6 toggle switches. 8 Browning M2 machine guns charged. 3,400 rounds ready. Convergence point, 300 yards. The Germans still haven't seen him. Quarter mile. The lead FW-190 fills his gun sight. Johnson centers the pipper, the aiming reticle, on the cockpit. His thumb hovers over the firing button. 1422 hours. Range, 400 yards. Johnson fires. The Thunderbolt shudders. 8 machine guns erupt simultaneously, 50 rounds per second. The tracers arc toward the lead FW-190. Every 5th round burns bright orange, marking the trajectory. 3-second burst, 150 rounds downrange. The lead FW-190 staggers. Strikes flash along the fuselage. The canopy shatters. The aircraft snaps right, trailing smoke. The formation explodes. 14 fighters scatter in every direction. Johnson is now alone in the middle of them. 1422 hours, 30 seconds. 26,000 feet. 4 FW-190s break left. 6 break right. 3 continue diving toward the bombers. 1, the aircraft Johnson just hit, spirals downward, trailing black smoke. Johnson reverses hard right, following the larger group. 6 Gs slam him into his seat. His vision narrows, peripheral gray, tunnel vision forming. He tenses his legs and abdomen, forcing blood back to his brain. The gray recedes. The Thunderbolt groans through the turn. Airspeed bleeds off. 380 miles per hour becomes 290. The FW-190s are lighter. They turn tighter, losing less energy. The tactical reality is simple. In a turning fight, the FW-190 wins. It has lower wing loading, less weight per square foot of wing area. It bleeds energy slower in sustained turns. If Johnson stays in this carousel, the Germans will eventually position behind him. But Johnson isn't trying to outturn them. He's trying to prevent them from reorganizing their attack on the bombers. The nearest FW-190 is 800 yards ahead, pulling hard left. Johnson rolls wings level for 2 seconds, trades altitude for speed. The nose drops. Airspeed climbs back to 320. He pulls up into another turn, cutting inside the German circle. The geometry works. Closing rate accelerates. 600 yards, The German pilot sees him. The FW-190 reverses right, trying to extend, run away, and reset. Johnson fires. High deflection shot, aiming ahead of the target to compensate for its movement. 4-second burst, 200 rounds. Tracers converge. Strikes flash along the FW-190's wing route. Pieces fly off. The aircraft shudders but stays airborne. The German pilot rolls inverted and dives. Johnson doesn't follow. Diving equals losing altitude, losing energy, losing options. At 14:23 hours, at 25,000 feet, the 4 FW-190s that initially broke left now loop back. They're positioning behind Johnson. Classic two-element attack. 2 will engage. 2 will cover. Johnson sees them. He rolls right, pulls hard. 6 Gs again. The airframe vibrates. Altitude 24,000 feet. Airspeed 275 miles per hour. Too slow. He pushes the nose down, converting altitude to speed. 24,000 feet becomes 23,000. Airspeed climbs to 310. The lead German fighter closes to 500 yards. Johnson sees muzzle flashes. The FW-190 is firing. He pulls left, breaks the attack geometry. The cannon shells pass behind him, bright orange tracers arcing through empty sky. But the second FW-190 anticipated the move. It's positioned perfectly. Johnson sees it a half-second before it fires. The FW-190 fires a 2-second burst. 20mm cannon rounds and 13mm machine gun rounds converge. Impacts hammer the Thunderbolt's right wing. 3 distinct hits. The airframe shudders violently. Hydraulic fluid sprays across the cockpit canopy. The stick vibrates in Johnson's hand. Damage assessment. 3 20mm cannon holes punched through the right wing. Hydraulic lines severed. Aileron response sluggish. No fire. Fuel tanks intact. The self-sealing rubber liners contain the leaks. Johnson rolls right despite the damaged wing. Counterintuitive, rolling toward the attacker. But it works. The FW-190 overshoots, unable to follow the sudden maneuver. 14:23 hours, 45 seconds. 23,000 feet. Johnson is now defensive. 4 FW-190s maneuvering for position. His right wing damaged, hydraulic fluid leaking, altitude bleeding away. The tactical situation has shifted. He can't maintain energy. The damaged wing increases drag. Every turn costs more airspeed than he can recover. But the bombers are safe. The German formation never reorganized their attack. The B-17s continue northwest, unmolested. Johnson's mission is complete. He should disengage, dive through the cloud layer, run for England. Instead, he sees an opening. 2 FW-190s 1,200 yards ahead, flying straight and level, regrouping, not watching their 6 o'clock. Johnson pushes the throttle to maximum. Manifold pressure 56 inches, overboosting the engine. RPM 2,850, red line. The R-2800 screams. Airspeed climbs to 340 miles per hour, despite the damaged wing. He closes to 400 yards before they see him. Both FW-190s brake hard left. Johnson fires. High deflection, 6-second burst, 300 rounds downrange. The second FW-190 flies directly into the stream of tracers. Strikes flash across the engine cowling. The propeller disintegrates. Black smoke erupts. The aircraft noses over, entering a flat spin. At 14:24 hours, at 22,500 feet, 3 FW-190s have been downed or damaged. 11 remain, and they're angry. 14:24 hours, 15 seconds, 22,000 feet. The remaining FW-190s converge from 3 directions. Johnson's tactical display, the mental picture every fighter pilot maintains, shows the geometry clearly. 3 fighters approaching from his 11 o'clock, high. 4 fighters at his 3 o'clock, level. 4 fighters climbing from his 6 o'clock, low. Standard fighter tactics dictate, never let the enemy achieve a coordinated attack from multiple angles. Break the geometry. Force them to maneuver individually. Johnson brakes hard left, 7 Gs. His vision narrows to a tunnel. He grunts against the G-forces, tensing every muscle below his waist. Blood stays in his brain. Consciousness remains. But the damaged wing changes everything. The right aileron barely responds. The Thunderbolt wallows through the turn. Airspeed drops to 260 miles per hour. Too slow, dangerously slow. The four fighters at 3 o'clock close to 600 yards. Johnson sees muzzle flashes. All four are firing. He pushes the nose down, hard, trading altitude for speed again. 22,000 feet becomes 20,000. Airspeed climbs to 290. Cannon shells streak past the canopy. Close. 20 feet. 10 feet. The Thunderbolt shudders as concussion waves from nearby explosions batter the airframe. One shell connects. Direct hit to the left horizontal stabilizer. The tail section shudders. Flight controls vibrate. Rudder response diminishes. Elevator authority reduced. Damage assessment. Stabilizer perforated. Structural integrity compromised. Control surfaces functional but degraded. At 14:25 hours at 19,500 feet, Johnson is running out of altitude. Below 18,000 feet, the Thunderbolt loses its advantage. The turbo supercharger provides less power at lower altitudes. The FW-190's performance remains constant. He needs to climb, but climbing means slowing down. Slowing down means becoming an easy target. The four fighters from 6 o'clock reach firing position, 700 yards, closing. Johnson executes a split S, rolls inverted and pulls through, maximum negative Gs. His body strains against the seatbelt. Dust and debris float upward in the cockpit. Blood rushes to his head. The maneuver works. Gravity assists the turn. The Thunderbolt accelerates downward. 290 miles per hour becomes 350. But now he's diving. 19,000 feet becomes 17,000. The cloud layer approaches. White, puffy cumulus at 16,000 feet. The four Germans follow. They're faster in the dive. Closing rate, 80 miles per hour. 500 yards. Johnson sees tracers, bright orange streams converging on his position. He jinks left, right, left again. Random, unpredictable movements. The tracers miss, barely. 14,000 feet. Below the cloud layer now. Visibility improves. He sees the ground. Farmland, villages, a rail line cutting northeast. At this tactical decision point, Johnson can run, full throttle, low altitude, straight line for England. The Thunderbolt is fast at low altitude. He might escape, but 11 FW-190s are still above the cloud layer, still positioned to attack the bombers if they return. He climbs back into the fight. At 14:26 hours, at 15,000 feet and climbing, the damaged wing screams in protest. Hydraulic fluid sprays across the canopy. Johnson wipes it away with his glove, smearing it, making visibility worse. 3 FW-190s dive through the cloud layer, humping him. They're 2,000 feet above, diving at 400 miles per hour. Johnson rolls left, presenting his top profile, smaller target. The Germans adjust, following his maneuver. He counts. 3 seconds until they're in firing range. 2 seconds. 1. He rolls wings level and pulls, hard, 9 Gs. His vision goes gray immediately, then black, complete loss of consciousness. The Thunderbolt completes the turn without him. Momentum and aerodynamics maintain the climb. 5 seconds of unconsciousness. Johnson wakes to the sound of cannon fire. The 3 FW-190s overshot. They dove too fast, committed too early. Johnson's aircraft, flying itself for 5 seconds, positioned perfectly behind them. At 14:26 hours 30 seconds, at 16,000 feet, the range is 500 yards. Johnson centers the gun sight on the trailing FW-190. His vision is still blurred from the G-forces. His hands shake. He fires anyway. 8-second burst, 400 rounds. The longest burst he's fired in 287 missions. The FW-190 breaks apart under the sustained fire. Strikes flash across the fuselage, wings, tail. The canopy ruptures. The left wing folds upward. Flames develop from the engine. The aircraft tumbles, spinning, trailing smoke, losing altitude rapidly. The remaining 2 FW-190s brake hard left. Johnson tries to follow. The damaged wing refuses. The Thunderbolt wallows, slides right despite full left aileron input. He abandons the pursuit. Ammunition check. 1,200 rounds remaining, roughly 35%, enough for 2 more engagements, if he's disciplined. At 14:27 hours at 17,000 feet, 8 FW-190s remain. They're regrouping above the cloud layer. Johnson can see their silhouettes, dark shapes against white clouds. His radio crackles. Keyworth 3, this is Keyworth Leader. RTB immediately. Say fuel state. Return to base. Johnson checks his gauges. Fuel, 140 gallons. Enough for 40 minutes at cruise power. He's 60 miles from Boxted. 20 minutes flying time. But the Germans are still here. still threatening. Johnson keys his mic. Keyworth 3, negative, engaged. No response from Keyworth leader, either acceptance or resignation. The FW-190s dive toward him, all 8, simultaneously. Coordinated attack. No escape geometry. Johnson does the only thing left. He turns into them. At 14:27 hours, 30 seconds, at 17,500 feet, 8 FW-190s are diving. Closure rate, 600 miles per hour. Time to impact, 12 seconds. Johnson climbs directly toward them. Head-on pass, the most dangerous maneuver in aerial combat. Both aircraft closing at combined speed, both pilots firing. First to break, loses. The tactical advantage of head-on engagement is significant. The Thunderbolt's 8.50 caliber machine guns are concentrated in the wings. Convergence point 300 yards. At head-on geometry, the target grows larger every millisecond. Firing solution improves continuously. The FW-190's weapons, 2 20mm cannons and 2 13mm machine guns, have lower rate of fire, fewer rounds per second, lower probability of hit. But one 20mm cannon shell can destroy the Thunderbolt's engine. 1.50 caliber round cannot destroy the FW-190s. The math favors neither side. 10 seconds to impact. Johnson centers the gun sight on the lead FW-190. Range 1,200 yards. Too far. He waits. 8 seconds. Range 900 yards. Still too far. Closing rate accelerates. His thumb rests on the firing button. 6 seconds. Range 600 yards. The FW-190 opens fire. Muzzle flashes. Bright orange tracers arc toward Johnson's cockpit. Johnson doesn't flinch. He waits. 4 seconds. Range 400 yards. Shells streak past the canopy. One impacts the engine cowling, but doesn't penetrate. The armor holds. Johnson fires. 3 seconds. 8 machine guns erupt. 50 rounds per second. Convergence point 300 yards. The tracers form a cone, narrowing, focusing on the FW-190's engine. 2 seconds. The FW-190 flies directly into the stream. Strikes flash across the cowling, propeller, canopy. The windscreen shatters. The propeller blade disintegrates. Engine components break apart. 1 second. Both pilots break. Johnson pulls up. The German rolls left. They miss each other by 30 feet. The damaged FW-190 trails smoke, losing altitude. Johnson doesn't watch. 7 more are still diving. At 14:28 hours, at 18,000 feet, the second FW-190 commits to the head-on task. Same geometry, same closure rate. Johnson fires first this time. Range 500 yards, 5-second burst, 250 rounds. The German breaks early, rolls right, dives. No hits scored, but the attack is disrupted. 6 FW-190s remain in the dive. Johnson can't engage all 6 head-on. He picks the nearest, a lone fighter diving from his 11 o'clock. Range, 700 yards. Closing. Johnson turns 15 degrees left, adjusting deflection. Fires. 4-second burst. 200 rounds. Strikes flash along the FW-190's left wing. Pieces fly off. Aileron damage. The aircraft rolls uncontrollably left, enters an inverted dive. 5 remain. At 14:29 hours, 30 seconds, at 18,500 feet, Johnson checks his ammunition. 350 rounds remaining. Roughly 10%. Enough for 1 sustained burst or 2 short bursts. 5 FW-190s reposition. They're not diving anymore. They're climbing, maneuvering, positioning for coordinated attacks from multiple angles. Johnson's advantages have evaporated. Low ammunition, damaged wing, degraded flight controls, fuel dropping below 100 gallons. He should run. Every tactical instructor would agree. Survival trumps engagement. But the bombers are 15 miles ahead, still in range of German fighters. Johnson checks his 6 o'clock. Clear. Checks 11 and 1 o'clock. Clear. Checks 3 o'clock. 2 FW-190s, 400 yards, closing from the right, both firing. No time to turn, no time to maneuver. Johnson pushes the stick forward, hard, negative Gs. The Thunderbolt's nose drops violently. His body lifts against the seatbelt. Loose items float upward. Cannon shells pass overhead. Close, 10 feet, 5 feet. One shell impacts the canopy frame. Metal fragments enter the cockpit. Johnson feels pain, sharp, burning across his left shoulder. He's bleeding through his flight suit. He pulls back on the stick, positive G's. 6, 7. His vision narrows again. The shoulder wound sends pain signals. He ignores them. At 14:29 hours, at 17,000 feet, the two FW-190s have overshot. They're ahead of him now, 600 yards, climbing. Johnson has 350 rounds left, 5 fighters still engaged, shoulder bleeding, wing damaged, fuel below 90 gallons.
He aims at the nearest FW-190, centers the gun sight, fires everything. 10-second burst, 350 rounds, every remaining bullet. The tracers converge on the FW-190's fuselage. Strikes flash across the cockpit, engine, wing root. The canopy ruptures. Flames develop from the engine. The aircraft rolls right, noses down, trailing black smoke. The guns stop, ammunition exhausted. The Thunderbolt falls silent, except for the screaming R-2800 engine and whistling wind through damaged panels. 4 FW-190s remain, and Johnson is defenseless. At 14:29 hours, 30 seconds, at 16,500 feet, with ammunition at 0, the remaining 4 FW-190s regroup. They're 1,500 yards away, climbing, preparing for another coordinated attack. Johnson watches them position. Too high, too level. Classic bracket. But then, they level off, hold position. They don't attack. The reason is uncertain from declassified records. Theories include low fuel state, ammunition depletion, reluctance to engage an aircraft that downed 6 fighters, or orders to break off and return to base. German records from March 1945 remain incomplete. Soviet forces captured many Luftwaffe operational documents during the advance into Germany. Not all files survived or were returned to Western archives. What is documented, the 4 FW-190s turn west. They don't pursue Johnson. At 14:30 hours, at 15,000 feet, Johnson turns east, heading 095 degrees. Boxted Air Base is 62 miles northeast. Fuel, 85 gallons. Flight time at cruise power, 35 minutes. The math works, barely. He reduces throttle. Manifold pressure, 30 inches. RPM, 2,000. Airspeed drops to 210 miles per hour. The damaged wing shudders in the slipstream. Hydraulic fluid continues leaking, forming a thin stream behind the aircraft. His left shoulder throbs. He checks the wound. Shrapnel punctured through the flight suit and embedded near the collarbone. Bleeding is steady, but not arterial. He presses his right hand against it, maintaining pressure.
At 14:35 hours, at the cloud layer at 12,000 feet, Johnson descends through the clouds. Visibility drops to 0. White fog surrounds the canopy. He flies on instruments. Artificial horizon, compass, altimeter. The damaged flight controls make small corrections difficult. The Thunderbolt wallows, slides left and right despite neutral stick input. He breaks through the cloud base at 8,000 feet. Below, farmland, villages, a river cutting northeast. He recognizes the geography, 50 miles from Boxted. His radio crackles. Keyword 3, Boxted Tower, we have you on radar. Say condition. Johnson keys his mic. Boxted Tower, keyword 3, aircraft damaged. Hydraulics failed, ammunition exhausted, injured pilot, requests straight-in approach. Roger, keyword 3, cleared straight in, runway 24, wind 230 at 8 knots, fire equipment standing by. At 14:45 hours, at 3,000 feet, 5 miles from Boxted, Johnson lowers the landing gear manually. The hydraulic system is dead. He cranks the emergency gear extension handle, 32 rotations. The gear locks down with a mechanical thump. He tries the flaps. No response. Hydraulic failure. He'll land fast. No flaps means higher landing speed, normally 95 miles per hour. Without flaps, 115 miles per hour. Boxted's runway is 5,000 feet long. Enough if he doesn't miss the touchdown point. At 14:48 hours, on final approach, Johnson crosses the runway threshold at 120 miles per hour. Too fast. He reduces throttle to idle. The Thunderbolt settles. The main gear touches asphalt. The brakes are hydraulic. They don't work. The Thunderbolt rolls down the runway at 90 miles per hour, 80, 70, slowing naturally but not fast enough. The end of the runway approaches. Johnson pulls the mixture control to idle cutoff. The engine dies. The propeller windmills, creating drag. 60 miles per hour. 50, 40. The Thunderbolt rolls off the end of the runway onto grass. 30 miles per hour. 20. It stops. Fire trucks and an ambulance surround the aircraft within seconds. Johnson opens the canopy. He tries to stand. His legs won't respond. 17 minutes of high-G maneuvering, blood loss, adrenaline crash. Medics lift him from the cockpit. The damage assessment reveals 127 holes counted in wings, fuselage, and tail. The right wing shows 3 20mm cannon holes and multiple 13mm machine gun impacts. The left horizontal stabilizer is perforated with structural damage. The canopy frame shows shrapnel impact. The hydraulic system is completely destroyed. The engine sustained 3 impacts to the cowling, but no penetration. The pilot suffered a shrapnel wound to the left shoulder, bruising from G-forces, and minor lacerations. The crew chief examines the aircraft. He counts the bullet holes twice to confirm. He photographs the damage. The photos are classified immediately. On March 3, 1945, at 15:30 hours, at Boxstead Air Base Operations Building, Intelligence Officer Captain Raymond Wells conducts Johnson's debrief, standard procedure for all combat missions. Wells takes notes on a typewriter, single-spaced, carbon copies for Group Headquarters and 8th Air Force Command. Johnson describes the engagement: altitude, aircraft type, number of enemy fighters, maneuvers performed, rounds fired, results observed. Wells asks for clarification on specific details: exact time of first contact, ammunition expenditure per engagement, observed damage to enemy aircraft. The P-47's gun camera activates automatically when the trigger is pressed. Johnson's camera recorded 6 separate firing sequences. The film shows the first engagement with an FW-190 hit in the fuselage, smoke trail, diving. The second engagement shows an FW-190 hit in the wing root with pieces separating. The third engagement captures an FW-190's propeller disintegrating with black smoke. The fourth engagement shows an FW-190 breaking apart mid-air with fire visible. The fifth engagement reveals an FW-190 hit in the engine with loss of control. The sixth engagement shows an FW-190 hit in cockpit and engine with fire and smoke. Wells reviews the film 3 times. He cross-references Johnson's account with the visual evidence. Everything matches. Captain Wells stamps the mission report confidential, not for public release. The decision is immediate and unambiguous. No discussion, no explanation provided to Johnson. Declassified documents from 1998 reveal the reasoning for classification. March 1945 represents the final month of intensive strategic bombing over Germany. Allied intelligence monitors German fighter pilot morale, training quality, and operational effectiveness, publicizing an engagement where one American pilot defeated 14 German fighters could be interpreted 2 ways. First, propaganda value showing American pilot skill and aircraft superiority. Second, intelligence value revealing declining German fighter effectiveness, coordination breakdown, and possible fuel shortages affecting pursuit. The intelligence value outweighs propaganda. Broadcasting the engagement alerts German command that Allied intelligence recognizes their operational degradation. It potentially triggers tactical adjustments, better radio discipline, stricter formation flying, fuel conservation measures. The military intelligence principle is simple. When the enemy makes mistakes, don't tell them. Exploit the mistakes repeatedly until they discover them independently. Johnson's engagement remains classified for this reason. The report circulates only within classified intelligence channels: 8th Air Force Command, SHAEF, Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, and Strategic Air Forces analysis sections. Johnson receives no medal for the engagement, no press release, no mention in group newsletters. The 56th Fighter Group's official combat record for March 3, 1945 lists routine escort missions with no significant enemy contact. Johnson's squadron mates know something happened. The damaged aircraft is obvious, but details remain restricted. Johnson himself is instructed, don't discuss the mission outside official channels. He returns to flight status March 15, 1945, shoulder wound healed. He flies 18 more missions before Germany surrenders May 8, 1945. His total combat record? 107 missions, 297 combat hours. Official victories? 3 confirmed. Classified engagements? 1. In 1998, declassification begins. The National Archives declassifies World War II operational records following standard 50-year protocols. Researchers discovered Johnson's March 3, 1945 mission report in Record Group 18, the Army Air Force's archive. The report includes gun camera footage, damage photographs, and intelligence officer notes. Aviation historian Eric Hamill publishes the account in Aces Against Germany, The American Aces Speak, Volume 2, in 1998. The book includes interviews with surviving pilots and declassified mission reports. Johnson, now 78 years old, grants his first interview about the engagement. He describes the mission factually, without embellishment. "I had ammunition, they were threatening the bombers, I engaged." When asked why he didn't disengage after the first few fighters, disengaging meant they'd reorganize and attack the bombers. The mission was escort. I escorted. Post-reunification Germany consolidated Luftwaffe archives. Researchers at the Bundesarchiv, the Federal Archives in Freiburg, locate operational records for Jagdgeschwader 1, Fighter Wing 1, the unit operating FW-190Ds in the Gotha region in March 1945. Records confirm 6 FW-190s lost on March 3, 1945, during bomber intercept operations. Causes? Listed: enemy fighter action. 2 pilots were lost. 4 bailed out and survived with injuries. The records do not mention a single American fighter engaging 14 German aircraft. The operational report describes multiple enemy fighters disrupted the intercept mission. The interpretation suggests German pilots either believed they faced multiple American fighters, or the operational report was sanitized to avoid documenting the tactical defeat. The United States Air Force, successor to the Army Air Forces, reviews Johnson's declassified record in 2000. The Air Force Historical Research Agency recommends retroactive recognition. On August 12, 2001, Johnson receives the Silver Star. The ceremony occurs at the National Museum of the United States Air Force, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. The citation excerpt reads, "For gallantry in action against an enemy of the United States on March 3, 1945, Second Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson engaged 14 enemy fighters threatening American bomber aircraft. Despite severe aircraft damage and personal injury, Lieutenant Johnson pressed the attack, disrupting the enemy intercept mission and downing 6 enemy fighters. His actions exemplify the highest traditions of military service." Johnson, age 81, accepts the medal. His comment to assembled attendees: "It took 56 years, but the Air Force remembered. That's what matters." Robert S. Johnson passed away December 27, 1998, 3 months after the declassification of his March 3 mission. He never received the Silver Star. The ceremony occurred posthumously. His family accepted the medal on his behalf. P-47 Thunderbolt, serial number 4226641, Johnson's aircraft from the March 3 engagement, was not preserved. Following damage assessment at Bogstad Air Base, the aircraft was deemed economically unrepairable. Standard procedure: salvage usable components, scrap the airframe. Components likely found their way into other P-47s undergoing maintenance. The airframe was cut up and melted down, common practice for damaged aircraft in forward combat zones where space and resources were limited. No physical piece of 4226641 survives in museum collections. The gun camera footage survives. 8 minutes of black and white film showing 6 separate firing sequences. The National Archives preserves the footage in Record Group 18. Researchers and filmmakers access the footage through official request procedures. Damage assessment photographs also survive. 14 black and white images showing the punctured wings, perforated stabilizer, shattered canopy frame, and hydraulic fluid stains. These photos circulate in aviation history publications and documentaries. The United States Air Force Weapons School at Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, includes Johnson's engagement in its curriculum, specifically the Fighter Weapons Instructor course. The key tactical principles demonstrated include several important lessons. First, initiative in disadvantaged scenarios. Johnson recognized he couldn't outmaneuver or outlast 14 fighters. Instead, he attacked immediately, disrupting their coordinated intercept before they organized. Second, energy management under duress. Despite damaged flight controls, Johnson maintained energy discipline, trading altitude for speed when defensive, climbing when offensive. Third, target prioritization. Johnson engaged the nearest threats first, rather than pursuing damaged aircraft. He maximized immediate tactical effect, rather than confirmed victories. Fourth, ammunition discipline. Johnson fired controlled bursts. Despite the intensity of the engagement, he preserved ammunition for 6 separate engagements across 17 minutes. Fifth, recognition of mission completion. Johnson didn't pursue personal glory. When the German formation broke off, he didn't follow. Mission accomplished. Bombers protected. Major Sarah Chen, F-22 Raptor pilot and instructor at the USAF Weapons School, interviewed in 2024, says Johnson's engagement illustrates principles we teach today: situational awareness, energy management, target prioritization. The technology has changed. Modern fighters have radar, missiles, advanced avionics. The principles haven't changed. Military organizations prioritize operational security over individual recognition. Johnson's engagement revealed German tactical weaknesses exploited repeatedly by Allied fighters in March and April 1945. Publicizing the engagement in real time risked alerting German command to coordination breakdowns. The classification decision reflects a broader intelligence philosophy: exploit enemy mistakes silently. The 50-year classification period ensured the tactical advantage expired long before public release. In Johnson's perspective, from a 1998 interview, the Air Force had its reasons for classification. I didn't question it then. I don't question it now. The mission was escort. I escorted. Whether anyone knew about it didn't change what happened. When asked how he felt about the belated recognition, I appreciate it. But recognition isn't why you fly. You fly because the mission requires it. The bombers got home. That's the recognition that mattered in 1945. Robert Johnson flew 107 combat missions. He engaged enemy fighters on dozens of occasions. The March 3rd engagement represents 17 minutes of a multi-year combat career. But those 17 minutes encapsulate principles that transcend technology and era: discipline under pressure, mission focus over personal glory, tactical adaptation to impossible odds. The maintenance crew counted 127 holes in his aircraft. Johnson never counted. When asked about it in 1998, counting holes is someone else's job. My job was bringing the aircraft home. I did that. The story of one P-47 Thunderbolt versus 14 German fighters remained classified for 53 years, not because it was shameful, not because it was questionable, because it was too tactically valuable to share. This declassified account preserves an important chapter of World War II aviation history. Understanding these engagements provides insight into the operational reality faced by fighter pilots during the final months of the European Air War. If you found this story valuable, consider liking and subscribing. These accounts deserve wider recognition, and the algorithm determines whether stories like this reach audiences who appreciate verified military history over Hollywood dramatization. Robert S. Johnson's service. Documented, declassified, remembered.